Episode 6 of From Season 4 is where everything starts to crack in a way that feels irreversible. Not just physically inside the town, but emotionally inside every major character. What makes this episode so intense is that it doesn't rely on one big monster attack or one central mystery reveal. Instead, it slowly pulls apart the people we've been following. Boyd, Jade, Victor, Donna, Henry, Fatima, and forces them into situations where belief, logic, grief, and survival all collide at once. And by the end, the town doesn't feel safer or closer to escape. It feels more divided than ever, even though they may have just found something that changes everything. The episode continues directly from Jade's mushroom-induced vision, where he believes he has finally uncovered a path forward. According to Jade, the answers to escaping FROMville are not on the surface, but buried underneath it. He insists that the Anghkooey children are not just symbolic figures, and that the bones beneath the town are being protected for a reason. In his interpretation, the entire system of the town, its monsters, its rules, even its supernatural boundaries, is anchored to something physical underground. And if that anchor is destroyed, the entire system could collapse. But from Boyd's perspective, this is not hope. It is risk disguised as certainty. Boyd has spent too long in this place watching certainty turn into mass death. Every time someone believes they've found the truth, people die. So when Jade presents his theory, Boyd doesn't react with curiosity. He reacts with caution and resistance. Not because he enjoys being skeptical, but because he has learned the cost of being wrong in FROMville is always measured in lives. To settle it, Boyd agrees to test Jade's claim directly. Jade insists there is a hidden door in the basement of the colony house, the same door he saw in his vision. If it exists, then his vision might be real. If it doesn't, then everything collapses into hallucination and guesswork. So Boyd takes him there. What follows is one of the most emotionally loaded sequences in the episode. They tear into the basement wall, fully expecting something to appear. But there is nothing. No passage. No hidden structure. Just solid stone. And in that moment, Jade doesn't just lose an argument. He loses the foundation of his entire theory. The certainty he had built begins to crumble instantly. Boyd, on the other hand, sees this as confirmation that trusting visions is dangerous. But instead of resolving anything, this discovery makes things worse. Jade doesn't accept the failure quietly. He becomes more emotional, more aggressive, accusing Boyd of refusing to act, of choosing survival over progress, of maintaining a system that only delays death instead of preventing it. Boyd fires back, saying Jade's idea is not strategy. It's reckless hope that ignores the reality of what this place does to people who take risks. This argument is not just about a door. It is about two philosophies of survival colliding. Boyd represents containment, keeping people alive at any cost, even if it means no progress. Jade represents disruption, taking risks to break the system, even if it means casualties. Neither of them is fully wrong, and that is what makes it dangerous. Kenny witnesses the entire exchange and becomes a quiet observer of something bigger. The leadership structure is breaking down. Boyd is no longer the unquestioned center of control, and Jade is no longer just a wild-card outsider. The town is splitting into belief systems, and Kenny realizes there is no longer a single direction forward. Meanwhile, Victor is dealing with something far more internal but equally unstable: memory. The Yellow Suit Man continues to haunt his recollections, but his memories are fragmented and emotionally charged. He remembers a man entering the town like everyone else, arriving in a brown car, behaving almost normal at first. But Victor knows that normal in FROMville is never safe. Something about that man is wrong in a way Victor cannot fully explain yet. What makes Victor's storyline so important in this episode is not just what he remembers, but what he refuses to remember. Ethan tries to push him for answers, but Victor stops him every time. Not because he wants to hide information, but because he understands a pattern no one else fully sees yet. In FROMville, remembering often comes with consequences. Victor has seen too many memories turn into death sentences for the people he shares them with. So instead, Victor draws. He externalizes memory through images, not words. It is his way of controlling trauma, without unleashing it fully into the world. At the same time, Henry is becoming one of the most emotionally vulnerable characters in the episode. Still devastated by Miranda's death, Henry is drifting between grief and numbness. Sophia finds him in this weakened state and begins manipulating him slowly, deliberately, and psychologically. She doesn't attack him directly. She joins him. She listens. She drinks with him. She mirrors his pain. Then she introduces a new idea. What if none of this is real? At first, it sounds like a comforting theory, a simulation, a dream, a system they could wake up from. But the deeper implication is much darker. Because if Henry believes that death equals escape, then the barrier between survival and surrender disappears. Sophia carefully plants the idea that letting go might be the only way out. And while she does this, she begins poisoning him subtly, ensuring that his judgment is already compromised. The brilliance of this manipulation is that Henry doesn't feel attacked, he feels understood. And in FROMville, that is often more dangerous than fear. Elsewhere, Sarah and Julie share one of the quietest but most emotionally grounded storylines in the episode. While painting a room, they engage in a conversation that initially feels normal, almost out of place in FROMville, but gradually becomes deeply reflective. They talk about loss, manipulation, and the false hope of changing the past. Julie admits she once believed she could go back and save her father, Jim. Sarah connects this to her own experience of being manipulated by the voices in the town. Both realize that their past actions were shaped by forces they did not fully understand or control. What makes this scene powerful is not just the dialogue, but the recognition that both of them are victims of different forms of psychological influence. One supernatural, one emotional, but equally real in their consequences. For a brief moment, they find something close to peace. Not escape, but understanding. And in FROMville, that is rare. Fatima's storyline takes a symbolic turn that is harder to define, but extremely important to the episode's underlying themes. She begins constructing a golem-like figure, a physical manifestation of belief, fear, and imagination. She explains that as a child, she was comforted by myths, stories of jinns, gods, and mythical beings that helped her survive fear. But now, in FROMville, those same concepts feel less like stories and more like potential mechanisms of reality. Ellis begins to consider the possibility that belief itself may have power in this place. That ideas, fears, and imagination might not stay internal, they might become external forces. This connects directly to one of the show's recurring implications, that FROMville does not just contain monsters, it responds to perception. It shapes itself around human psychology. If that is true, then Fatima's creation is not meaningless. It might be an early version of something that could either protect or destroy. Then comes the most physically intense moment of the episode, Donna's collapse. Donna suffers a sudden heart attack after the accumulated stress of the settlement attack, the doll creatures, Roger's death, and the overwhelming realization that the town is now facing threats they cannot even understand or categorize. It is not a monster that nearly kills her. It is pressure. Emotional overload, exhaustion. Boyd and the others rush to save her. CPR begins. Panic spreads. Time slows. The scene becomes almost suffocating in its silence and urgency. For a moment, Donna appears gone. The emotional weight of losing her settles over the group,